Edgar Wright is a pretty excellent director. He is known for his fast-paced and rhythmic editing, his subversion of genre tropes, and his witty dialogue. He was always a director I appreciated, really like a good chunk of his films, and thought since he only has 8 films that would be a pretty easy director to rank. And I had a lot of fun. Granted, he did kind of fall off in his later years with films that lose his distinct style and charm, but he is still a great director that I love a bunch. This list only includes his 8 narrative feature films that he directed, which does include A Fistful of Fingers, but excludes the Sparks Brothers documentary. Also, like always, I will be going into spoilers. Anyways, let's start off with his only film that I would consider downright bad. Going into this ranking, there was one film that was pretty divisive, that being Last Night in Soho. Some people love it, other people hate it. As for me, I'm with the haters on this one. Before I go into what's wrong with the film, I want to make it clear that the direction isn't a flaw whatsoever. Yes, it's very different from Wright's other movies, but I don't mind it as much as he is doing something new, and I really like what's done here, especially with the red and blue lighting. It definitely makes things stick out in such an artistic way. Plus, I love how the 60s look in this. They nail everything with it, from the sets to the clothing to the music. It's beautiful. That's about all the positives I have to say, because good God. Okay, so on paper, a film about toxic nostalgia, misogyny, and abuse in the 60s isn't a bad idea. But how it was executed was awful. At first it was fine, albeit a little ham-fisted and obvious, but I could have gone with it. But there's 2 major things that ruin the film's somewhat decent messages. Firstly, the film's cheap horror really ruins any powerful scenes from being made. There's so many lame jump scares and whatever intense moments that I was just sitting there with a blank expression. None of it was unnerving. And sometimes it got unintentionally hilarious, mainly when the old man got hit by the taxi, which was supposed to be a shocking moment, but it was just like... Anyways, because of this, I can't take the film's messages seriously when it uses shit like this. It's not like horror can't elevate a really obvious message. The Substance, for example. It's pretty in your face with what it's about, however, the use of horror elevates it so well to make the themes stick out more than they would have otherwise. Last Night in Soho doesn't. The other thing that really harms this film's messages are the twists. Let me just run through the plot so you know what I'm talking about. The film follows Ellie, a fashion student who has been having vivid dreams of a woman by the name of Sandy from the 60s, who unwillingly becomes a prostitute and eventually killed by the men who abused her. But here is where it gets stupid. Sandy is actually alive, and is actually the landlady of the apartment Ellie was renting, and the vision of her murder was actually her murdering that man. And then she turns into the villain and attempts to kill Ellie for some reason. Doesn't making her evil kind of undermine the theme's entire point? I don't like the idea of turning a victim of abuse into the villain, as it tells me they aren't taking this delicate subject matter with care, and just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Aside from that, is there anything else? Not really. Most of the characters are boring and standard, and the performances don't do anything to elevate them. They aren't bad per se, but they don't do enough to keep me engaged. For the most part, when the film wasn't showing me cheap horror or insulting twists, it was just kinda boring. There wasn't anything going on for the first 30 minutes, and the rest of the film didn't fare much better. Overall, this was a shocking misfire from Edgar Wright, but thankfully this is his only truly bad film, so we can just go up from here. A Fistful of Fingers is Edgar Wright's feature film debut. It was actually pretty tough trying to find it. It isn't on any streaming service, so I had to scour 4 whole pirate ships to find it. It wasn't even on the deck of the 4th one. I had to look in its hull. Was the effort worth it? Not really. It is a very amateur and low-budget Western satire, which while it isn't necessarily a bad thing, it does affect my overall enjoyment. But I'll try to be fair with this film. Despite being low budget, it is very obvious everyone had fun. There is a clear passion shown in this film, which I do appreciate. The humor is also solid and a start of Wright's iconic sharp writing. It's still very primitive, but there's a lot of funny moments, such as the Butch Cassidy ending argument, or a lot of the visual gags. My favorite joke is the horse costumes being used due to its low budget. With that being said, not all the jokes land, as a lot are either dated or just plain racist. And there are a lot of scenes that do drag on a bit. I pretty much wanted the film to be over at the 30-minute mark, as I pretty much got what this film was going for at that point. But then it just kept on going, and for a film that's only 80 minutes long, that's not a good thing. It's not a bad film, and I can't appreciate it for being the start of a great filmmaker, but it's not one that I'll ever think about or recommend.
Come on!
The World's End is the final film in the Cornetto trilogy, and I hate to say it, I didn't like it all too much. It just wasn't as funny, wasn't as tightly written, and just not that entertaining as either Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz. But to be fair to this film, I'll try my best not to compare this to those films and take it as its own film. Still not that great. The biggest thing that drags this film down is the main character, Gary King. I kinda hate him. Listen, don't get me wrong, I love unlikable protagonists. I mean, this is an Edgar Wright ranking after all. But for them to work, at least the kind this film is going for, they kinda have to be relatable in some way. And I just find Gary not relatable in the slightest. There is something there with him unable to escape the past, but better films do that theme way better. As is, I just found Gary to be too much of an asshole for me to sympathize with. To the point I almost wanted to strangle him by the end. Maybe it's because I'm not British and I'm not very familiar with their drinking culture, but I didn't get anything out of him. But I did decently like most of his old gang. They weren't amazing characters, but they still had that charm, and it was believable that this was an old group finally reconnecting after 20 years. And I enjoyed them quite a bit, especially Andy, who I liked a lot more than Gary. He was just a more intriguing and relatable character in my eyes, and as controversial as this may sound, I wish he was the main character instead. This film is also a robot or, blank apocalypse film, and I'm also fairly mixed on this. On one hand, I love the Body Snatchers influence. The bright blue light they emit is terrifying, and how soulless they are is unnerving. And the film does a great job at putting you on edge. The fight scenes are also fun. Due to the Blank's detachable limbs, you get to have some pretty creative fights throughout. Plus they are long and well thought out, which makes them even better. I also love the added comedy of these grown-ass middle-aged men somehow knowing how to fight. However, the Blank's motivations is a little convoluted. So they are here to help humanity to join the galactic community. But here's the thing, what's the point of it if everyone is turned into a Blank? They explain it by humanity's disobedience, but I blame it on their lack of foresight and unwillingness to come up with a better solution. It just makes me question their motivations, and in turn it makes them just feel really stupid. And honestly, I would have preferred if they were outright evil. I also found the scene where they laid all this out to be a little prolonged. I could forgive all of this if the comedy was at least good. It's just okay. It was clear there were some thought put into it, but I only chuckled a couple of times. It didn't have that sharp wit or back and forth that I crave, and I was just left disappointed in the end. At least the editing was still Edgar Wright and really snappy that I enjoyed a lot. Not a bad film in the slightest, there was still a decent amount I liked, but all in all, I just had an okay time whilst watching.
Here's Sub-Zero! Now, Plane Zero!
The Running Man is abysmal garbage, but my kind of abysmal garbage. It's just pure 80s cheese, and I love it for that. It fails on all fronts, but when Arnie makes funny one-liners, that was funny shit. I had a blast watching this awful film from front to back. The bad CGI, the abysmal costumes, making fun of how comically misogynistic this film is. And of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Ben Richards is a riot. His line delivery is terrible, his one-liners are hilarious, and it's clear he wasn't taking any of this seriously, and just decided to have fun with it. Wait, I got the wrong script. Hold on. Here we are. The Running Man 2025 is a pretty fun film, albeit a little slight. I haven't read the original novel this film was based on, but I have to bet it's more faithful than the 80s version, which this is a massive improvement over in pretty much every way. First, some changes I appreciate is making Ben Richards a family man rather than a cop, which makes him more relatable to the audience, and Glenn Powell does a good job at portraying him. This is indeed a better Glenn Powell movie than the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Another thing I like over the 80s film is that the actual Running Man game felt more worldwide. In the 80s version, it just felt like a series of corridors, while in this, you see Ben go around the United States, which makes it more engaging for me. I will admit I do miss some of the wacky designs of the hunters, but I can't complain too much as the supporting cast is pretty great. All the people Ben Richards meets on his journey are all memorable. The arms dealer played by William H. Macy, the kid and his father, and the lady who Ben meets near the end are all fantastic side characters who do their part on making this world seem more real. But by far my favorite is Michael Cera, who helps Ben find a bunker. He just brings a great energy to the film, plus his Home Alone-esque traps were a delight to watch. However, this film does have a few glaring flaws that prevent it from going any higher. Firstly, its direction is pretty weak. Excluding Fistful of Fingers, this is by far Wright's weakest directed film, as it feels like literally anyone else could make this. While Soho is different, it at least still has a distinct style, while this doesn't. But the big thing that harms this film is its message about how the network controls media and society. It's way too heavy-handed and obvious. Like, we get it. You don't need to shove it in our faces every single minute. It gets annoying to a point where I want to punch the screen. The worst of it is in the final act, where it just becomes a mess. Its heavy-handedness is at its worst here. And then the film just ends. That's it. There's no resolution or anything. Ben just shoots Killian and the film ends. I hate to say it, but the 80s film had a better ending than this. I mean, I'm all for ambiguous endings, but this was just unsatisfying. The Running Man overall is still a really fun film with entertaining action, but it does have its fair share of issues that prevent it from ranking any higher.
Oh, look, you and I are a team. Nothing is more important than our friendship.
Baby Driver is a very frustrating movie to me, because it could have easily been the perfect film and among Edgar Wright's best movies. It has great editing, action, an engaging story, and great acting for the most part. But it has one fatal flaw. Ansel Elgort just isn't a good actor. I'm not even saying this because I hate him as a person, which I do, but I also hate Kevin Spacey, and as much as it pains me to say, he was great in this. No, I'm saying this because he is so goddamn boring. He has no charisma, no charm. He doesn't do the character of Baby justice whatsoever. Baby as a character is actually pretty great. He is someone that has past trauma and copes with it with his music and mixtapes, and how the other characters interact with him is fascinating. But you can't tell any of this because Elgort is so dry. When rewatching the film for this video, I imagined Andrew Garfield in his place, and it would have been so much better than this shit stain. I do have some other problems with the film, such as Deborah being kind of whatever, and some minor nitpicks with the heist, but everything else in this film is excellent. Let's start with the rest of the acting. It kinda makes me even more mad about Baby because everyone else is so good, which is kind of a miracle since they have to play off someone who is essentially the human equivalent of a brick wall. But dang it, do they make it work. Yes, like I alluded to, this includes Kevin Spacey. I despise him as much as I do for Elgort, but Doc is still a great character. I think his relationship to Baby is key. You don't exactly know their past, but Doc does have a lot of respect for Baby, and it shows with his character. Defending him when others in the job fight back, and you can sense the disappointment in his voice when Baby disobeys his orders. That really tells me a lot about the two's history in just a tone of voice. Jamie Foxx as Bats is great too. He is the wild card of the group, and Fox's performance perfectly sells that archetype excellently. He is just plain fun to watch, especially how he bounces off and retorts with the other characters. Granted, it doesn't make sense why Doc would trust him on the jobs due to his chaotic nature, but it can look past that for how great the performance is. But John Hamm as Buddy is easily my favorite character, and I just want to shoot up my past self like Monica for thinking otherwise. Because no, he is perfect. His relationship and rivalry with Baby especially, how he just creeps up on him, gets all into his personal space, teasing him. It's just so good. And he ramps up after his girlfriend dies. The pure hatred on his face says it all, and he works so well for what this film tries to do. However, quite easily the best part of the film is its editing. I'm gonna say this right off the bat, this is the best editing Edgar Wright has ever done. Each cut has purpose. Each scene is so meticulously crafted to the smallest minute detail to make one of the most engaging movies to watch. It makes the tense moments all the more tenser, the car chases all the more exciting. But how the editing is combined with the movie's soundtrack, it's euphoric. This film already has one of the best song-to-script integration in any movie, only rivaled by the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, with how many songs tie into what is going on in the film. Like in the opening where the graffiti matched the lyrics, but the scenes where the music and the editing clash perfectly is in the gunfights. Each bullet shot is in the tune to whichever song is playing. It's all perfectly timed to make each scene some of the most captivating yet satisfying scenes ever put to film. I do love Baby Driver, but it really could have been so much better if they didn't cast that waste of oxygen. Good thing everything above this actually have great protagonists, and let's talk about them.
Wait a second, that doesn't even make sense. You get touched by a pharmacist, you become a pharmacist. I mean, you can't just grow a lab coat.
Shaun of the Dead is a perfect blend of comedy, horror, and drama into one great package. It was mine and probably many other people's first Edgar Wright movie, and what a great first impression. It's crazy how this entire movie only exists because of gag in an episode of Spaced, where they replicate Resident Evil 2. And I don't think Wright would nearly be the same filmmaker if it wasn't for that. So thank you, Leon Kennedy, and your kissable face for bringing this amazing filmmaker to the limelight. Anyways, Shaun of the Dead is extremely funny. It features that ever so iconic witty dialogue and perfect editing, which really help enhance the film's comedy. Helped all the better with the excellent cast. Of course, we have Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, but also the supporting cast is great as well. There are so many great bits, from the "you got red on you" running gag, to the complete oblivious of Sean as he walks down the street, with the amazing one take that replicates an earlier scene in the film, to the hilarious doppelganger scene, and of course the best usage of "Don't Stop Me Now" in anything ever. Just how they timed the wax and the light switch flickers to the beat of the song is brilliant. Of course, we can't forget how unapologetically British this is. Just all the phrases they use is so perfect and makes you more immersed in the world of the film. While not every joke lands, Shaun of the Dead is still incredibly funny. But the crazy part is, I find the horror and dramatic aspects of the film to be even stronger. Let's start with the horror. The first 20 minutes are suspenseful. You only get hits at what's going on from things going on in the background or the news broadcasts. And the tone is eerie. Apart from the main characters, all the other characters seem dead, even if they aren't a zombie yet. And not to mention the countless fake outs, which are often used for jokes, but also add to the overall suspense. It even takes a while for Sean to realize what's happening, so we are on the edge of our seats wondering when a zombie will jump out at him. The horror doesn't stop there though. Throughout the film there's many great scares. The film is gory. Not excessively so, but where there is gore, it still shocks you. David's death scene especially traumatized me when I first watched it. Granted, I was a little too young of an age to see this film, but still. but I think my favorite bit of horror is when Sean is fixing the lights, and it is revealed that hundreds of zombies are at the back door. The drama is also great. Sean is an utter bum, and the film makes it clear from the start. He is neglectful, forgetful, and just doesn't care about what others want, leading him to break up with his girlfriend, yet he is still interesting to watch as he isn't a total unlikable dick. And throughout the film, he does reconnect with his family, namely his stepdad Philip, who he has a rocky relationship with. But it's only during Philip's final moments is where Sean shows his true feelings for him in a really emotionally effective scene. David also adds to the drama because he is basically the human equivalent of that one meme where you agree, but they are so annoying that you low-key don't want to agree. And David does that job perfectly. You hate him because he is right most of the time. It all culminates to Barbara's death. The arguments the entire group has about whether they should shoot her or not is tense. We have Sean overrun with emotions and not listening to reason, and David, who is a massive twat, but is right. And this makes it to be such an anxious scene. These moments make me love the film even more than I already have. So yeah, Shaun of the Dead mixes its comedy, drama, and horror so perfectly, yet it's not even my favorite movie in the Cornetto trilogy.
Why was it so...
Hot Fuzz is better than Shaun of the Dead. Why? Well, it's for the greater good, of course.
The greater good.
I will admit Shaun has better dramatic moments, and I care about it more as a story, but Hot Fuzz is just funnier. I don't know what to say. This movie is an absolute riot from start to finish. Nearly all the jokes hit, and it consistently makes me laugh. There are so many quotable lines, such as, "Piss taker, come on!" Or "I think you would have made a great Muppet." And of course, for the greater good.
The greater good.
Another thing about this film's comedy is its great visual gags, such as the swear box, or the insane amount of editing in the action climax that makes Taken 3 cower in fear. Of course, the comedy is only half of the film, as this is an action mystery film after all, and it does great on that. The film is so tightly written that every bit of dialogue or throwaway joke is actually part of a bigger picture. This especially shows on rewatch, where I can actually pick up on all the small details, which is what a great mystery should strive for. The actual reveal is great too. We were led to believe that all these murders were caused by just one guy. But no, it's the entire town. And it's not some master plan either. It's all for things that slightly annoy them. It's such a great subversion of expectations and being hilarious at doing so. The action is very fun too, especially during the climax, which may or may not be the best action climax in all of cinema. I already mentioned the purposely horrendous editing that emulates shitty action movies, but also the over-the-topness of it all helps too. I mean, we have the entire town with firearms, literal food fights, a man's chin impaled on a miniature spike, the police station exploding, and goose attacks. It's all very goofy, but I love it for that. One detail I really love is that Nicholas Angel does all the things Danny asks him during the climax, which is a good segue to Angel's character arc. Sean does have him beat by miles on this front, but it's still decent. Angel is a cop who is too focused on his job, and over the course of the film, he learns to let go a little. You know, for the greater good.
The greater good.
Shut up. Anyways, it's very simple, but I don't know, it's effective at what it does. All in all, Hot Fuzz is an infinitely funny and entertaining film that sets out what it does perfectly. That being said, it's not the best Edgar Wright film. I am in Lesbians with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. While I can see arguments that the two films below this might be better, this is still by far my favorite Edgar Wright film. It's just an extremely entertaining, funny, well-paced, stylized, and exciting film with many memorable characters and moments throughout. I should mention that I have not read the original graphic novel that this film was based on, nor have I watched the Netflix cartoon that came out a few years ago. So I will be unable to comment on those, but that doesn't matter because I still love this film. I kinda relate to Scott. I know that sounds bad, But believe it or not, I can relate to a character despite not agreeing with their actions. Take notes, Twitter. I specifically relate to the social awkwardness he has when talking to people. There's many moments in the film that I just point and say, he's literally me, with how he stutters and interacts with other people. I especially love how he awkwardly becomes Did You Know Gaming and gives Pac-Man facts as his go-to pickup line. Michael Cera gives a great performance and shows how much of a loser Scott really is. He is also great at showing Scott's insecurities about dating, which is shown really well in his scenes with Ramona. They are awkward, but also sweet at the same time, and definitely makes me enjoy their relationship a lot more than I would have otherwise. Okay, now it's time to address the elephant in the room. He did date a 17-year-old. I do cringe at a lot of these scenes, but it isn't the worst ever, and the film makes it explicitly clear that it's more about Scott's insecurities and coping with his previous breakup, rather than a genuine attractive to knives. Which still doesn't excuse it, but it makes it more bearable to watch. Plus, it did lead to the funny She Was 17 memes, so it is all good. The story is admittedly a little weak, and I do think Sean and Hot Fuzz deliver better in that department, but this film has my favorite cast of characters across all of Edgar Wright's filmography to more than make up for it. I already went over Scott, but I do like Ramona quite a bit. She has a great personality and seems like a decent person to be around. She is by far the most normal character in the film, which helps with the more grounded scenes in the film. The members of Sex Bob-omb are memorable as well, young Beale being somehow even more of a loser than Scott, Steven, who exists, and Kim Pine, who I find hilarious, and has an interesting relationship with Scott that I kinda want to know more about. If it's expanded in the comic or the show, let me know. There is also Scott's gay roommate, Wallace Wells, who is played by Kieran Culkin, who delivers such a dry and witty performance, which is perfect for him. Plus, I love the joke that he is sleeping with a different guy every scene. Have I mentioned that this film is funny? Because it is really funny. Not quite as funny as Hot Fuzz, but it still manages to get a lot of chuckles out of me, and part of that is the film's incredible style. It's just perfect. It feels like I'm watching a real-life comic book, from the panels to the words showing up, to the onomatopoeias to the bright colors. It also evokes a lot from a video game, which fits the film's vibes very well. I appreciate the Zelda motifs throughout the film. The film style is especially shown with the battles of the 7 evil exes, who all have really entertaining fight scenes and gimmicks. Screw it, let's rank them. 7 and 6, the Katayanagi twins. They're kind of whatever, they don't have much of a character, and while the dragons they form are cool, they also just have the weakest fight of the bunch. 5, Matthew Patel. He is an alright character, but I do really like his fight scene, and it serves as a great introductory fight that sets the tone for how the rest of the film will go. Plus, his song was pretty fun. 4, Todd Ingram. He has a weaker fight, but his personality makes up for it. He has a connection to Scott because he is dating his ex. The vegan jokes are absolutely hilarious, and how he doesn't know that chicken wasn't vegan was the kicker. That's like not knowing that bread makes you fat. 3, Roxy Richer. The Bi-Furious line is the best line in all of fiction. Yeah, that's why she ranks this high. 2, Lucas Lee. I love action star parodies, and Lucas is no different. The 5-second clip of his film we see is better than the entirety of Taken. His personality is perfect. I love how Wallace immediately stems for him, and how he gets defeated by losing a game with Skate 3 was glorious. 1, Gideon Graves. Yeah, I mean, he is the main villain, after all. I like how the film subtly foreshadows him, even though he only appears in the last 20 minutes of the film. He is still a huge threat. He is the perfect incel, which makes him so terrifying. Everyone hates him, but that doesn't matter as he is powerful. All of this makes his defeat satisfying, and why he is my favorite evil ex. So yeah, Scott Pilgrim is a favorite of mine. It's not the deepest thing ever, but that doesn't matter to me as much as how entertainingly fun it is. Anyways, thank you for watching this video, I hope you had fun, and see you next time.